There we go. Perfect. All right. Another episode, Get It Right, with Coach Jonathan Banks. I'm so excited to have you here. Obviously, we just got talking about the background. Historically, that is the Kronk Gym, a place that you're extremely familiar with.
Right.
We had a lot of time to talk about Coach Manny Stewart, and you kind of explained it already, but if you just want to explain what was Manny to boxing.
I mean, if boxing was the moon, Emmanuel Stewart was the star surrounding it. You know what I'm saying? If boxing was the sunlight, Emmanuel was the great weather around surrounding the sun. You know what I'm saying? So he was a key signature in the sport for generations. I mean, you got people right now that's fighting and Emmanuel Stewart impacted their grandfather. So now then the son fought, now the grandson fighting. I mean, it goes for generations, man. That's to me, um, the when you are a great person or have a great talent, it don't. How can I put this? When you selflessly give it, it evolves over and over again. And it seeps down. Even though the Emmanuel is gone, look at the people. Just like right now, look how he touched you to have what you have right now. You know what I'm saying? Like that. That's the measure of greatness. It's the amount of people you could touch without touching. You know what I'm saying? People are drawn to like everybody. Everybody have looked at a star. Some people stare at it. Some people, at least you have seen it. And that greatness and that star quality in the late great Emmanuel Stewart, people was drawn to it, and it's the reason people was drawn to it because um, everyone, whether they fell in love with it or whether they just like it, they still was. It was something about what he was doing that drew people in to just pay attention to.
I want to ask, like, with him, what was it that was bigger than boxing? That he could connect on that human level with everybody and transcend just making great fighters, which he made a lot of great fighters, but it sounds like when people talk about him, it's bigger than just, oh, he helped me be a great fighter. It was like a human connection. What was that?
Well, yeah, it was a human connection because I mean the fighters are human, so yes, it's a human connection. But see, it's the same thing I do. We we can sit here and we could talk boxing, but the way we interacting, we actually talking to each other and we talking about something. So when you talk to each other, you talking about something. It's almost to the point where um like Emmanuel will he will set you up and to do different things, not tell you directly what it is, but set you up to do different things so you can get what you need yourself. And once he see that you understands what's going on, now you're learning. Anybody can yell out an instruction, but it takes a special teacher to break stuff down and teach a person because everybody learn different. You can have a group of guys, 10 guys. You tell them all to do push-ups, get up and run. Everybody can do something physical, do push-ups, get up and run. But when it comes to this teaching the sport, we all learn. Everybody have their strength. Everybody have their weaknesses. And if you got a fighter that you can't exploit his weaknesses, then we got an issue.
Yeah.
You got to be able to exploit his strengths as well. So that's the thing about it. You have to be able to break down who you training. How can I beat? If I was fighting my guy, how can I beat this guy? Okay, this is what I need to work on. This is what we need to fix. So he was all that. He went through all of those things.
And I feel like one thing a lot of people remember about not just his style, but for you as well, right? You're both the Kronk school of thought. It's known for getting knockouts, power generating knockouts. Was there a specific principle or rule that he followed to get to that, or is that something that's maybe misunderstood?
I mean, all of the above. It's misunderstood. There is a principle or rule that he followed to get that. So it's really all of the above. But most of it was, and this is one another thing that I learned from him, that it's almost to the point where if you got a used car salesman, and no matter what he tells you about this car, he's gonna speak about the car as if it's brand new. He's gonna speak about the car as if it's never had a problem in your life. So in other words, he's willing to die with the lie. So in this regard, which is the total opposite, dealing with Emmanuel, what he tells you, he believes it wholeheartedly, and he ain't gonna move off of it. That's the way he stayed grounded in his teaching, because he truly, he like, and you can tell when he's talking to him, when he's teaching you. You can tell that this guy he's all in. He 150% believes everything he's telling you.
Now, were there like some core principles that the Kronk was predicated on, like principles that you still follow to this day?
I mean, I would have to say yes, because I mean the core principles for me was just the things I learned from Emmanuel, because the only reason I started training, because he wanted me to train Vladimir for when he got sick. I thought it was gonna be a one time thing, and I had no idea that would be the last time that I seen him. But I thought it'd be a one time thing, and that was 2012, and now this is what, 2025. I'm still doing the same thing
Yeah.
that he asked me to do, which is, and for me, like, everything I do when it comes to training a fighter, I it's just to show homage and pay homage to him. That's really what it's all about. It has nothing to do with me. I strictly, anybody asks me what would I do, and I tell every guy, I say I don't know what I do. It ain't about me. I say I'm doing everything I do, everything I say is what I was been taught and what I saw from the late great Emmanuel Stewart, because it ain't got nothing to do with me. This is about honoring a legacy that I was fortunate enough for him to give to me.
With
You know what I'm saying? So
Sorry. So I was going to say with I noticed in an interview that you recently did before the Ben Eubank fight, the interviewer asked you a question. They said, "Has Chris talked to you about how he feels about Ben?" And you were very specific about what you said back. You said, "No, we don't talk about that," and essentially it's not important how he feels about that, right? It's about manifesting this in the ring.
nah, man. Like, when that's one of the biggest problems, where you see guys walk across the ring with other guys and get into physical competition. You know what I'm saying? My yes, we're in the physical violent sport. But long as your feelings are getting involved, when your feelings involved, that's when you have all this other stuff outside of the actual fight.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So me personally, when I go to camp, I leave my feelings at home. I don't want to feel like anything. I want to be all business, all one way. When I get back home, I pick my feelings back up and I can start feeling again. 'Cause that's really what it's all
yeah.
about. You have to keep it. Like you don't see no Fortune 500 company going off how a person feel.
I would agree.
No, they don't. They stick with the facts. The facts is A, B, C. These are the facts. Okay, stick to the facts.
Well, I mean, but that's a good point then. So like emotion, I think of like a Customato and his whole perspective on like fear. Fear can it's like fire. It can heat your house or it could burn it down. So all fighters have emotion. Like it's there. Do you think there's any place for it in boxing to use those emotions to drive a fighter, or does it just come down to in training camp, leave that at the door, and we're here to do a job?
It's easy. It's easy to say it doesn't have any place. It doesn't have this. Doesn't have that. It's a learned behavior dealing with emotions. Everybody has some type of emotion. You know what I'm saying? So everybody have to figure out. But also, just because we have them, don't mean they gotta run us. They don't mean like if you have dogs, that don't mean they need to crap all over your house. It's your dog, but that don't mean he got to crap all over your bed.
Yeah,
Your dog laid on your pillow, peed on your pillow. Yes, it's your dog, but that don't mean they have to do that.
yeah,
So these are your emotions. That doesn't mean they have to be out of control. Just because you have an emotional feeling about something, they don't need to be under control. You know what I'm saying? Like my
yeah.
mother and my one that's one of the things I got from my mother since I was little. My mother had 10 children, and she never wanted to be said that woman got 10 children. Look, at they all over the place. When we went places, we walked in a single file line. We went to the grocery store. We didn't have no money, so we wouldn't touch nothing. We couldn't even look at nothing too long because we know
Yeah.
we ain't had no money to buy it. So I mean, they thought we was military kids because we walked. We when I say we walked, looking forward and our hands to the side, we didn't touch nothing because we wasn't about to buy nothing. That's just
So
what it was. So
So is that something that you do by framing the expectations in camp, or is it something you have to address on a fighter to fighter basis? Like more specifically, have you ever had a fighter that maybe you could sense anxiety or fear or apprehension going into training camp? And if you do, how do you work around that? You don't have to name a
well,
fighter, but just like an example of
you
what that
got
looks like.
you have most fighters. 99.9% of fighters would never admit if they have any type of fear of anything. You just got to know how to read them, and that's one thing I learned from Emmanuel is learning how to read fighters. And if you know how to read somebody, you don't got to read it out loud. You don't got to say it out loud. You know how to read them so you can give them the response of what you're reading. And that's the only thing that's going to make that man comfortable or woman comfortable. If you're responding to what you're reading off of the fighter. That I believe that was one of his greatest attributes is to be able to read people. And he was able to read his fighters. So a lot of things they didn't even have to say.
Yeah.
He was able to give them a response going off what he's reading from their body gestures and what he's reading, looking at them in the eyes.
And you also said, the concept after that is to not tell them. You teach them. You sort of show them and allow them to find the answer. So let's dig in a little more. Like if I'm a fighter, let's say I'm in camp, I'm ready to go, I'm in pretty good shape. You noticed I'm apprehensive about, letting a certain punch go because I got countered maybe in the last fight. So I'm a southpaw. I throw the left hand. I got countered hard on it in my last fight. Now I'm kind of skittish about it. You sense that. What's the next step when you read that? How do you respond to something like that?
Me, it depends on how how skittish the person is. A lot of times, the person is aware of the punch coming, and they try their best to get out the way. Or some guys that may just they'll freeze. And if they'll freeze, that's one of the worst things you could do. That's one of the worst things you can do is stand there and freeze. So now I got to figure out what workout can I come up with to get this guy to admit that, or to get this guy to look out for this. So what I probably do, just off the top of my head, I probably start working on some different type of workout drills with him to get his mind off of it. And then eventually I go back to it. Because a lot of times you can reset the mind. He ain't go forget about what happened. But a lot of times you could do a reset and go back to what you was doing, and he's gonna do it as if he didn't do what he did. But now we already got a rapport. We working on something, and then I added that in there real quick. Before you know it, he's back to slipping and shooting the shots again.
Gotcha. How?
So it's almost to the point where when like okay, years ago I remember I was teaching my little sisters all this stuff how to ride a bike. They want to ride. They finally got it. They balance themselves. They riding the bike, and something happened. They fell off and flipped over the handlebar. She cried, crying. I ran to her. I picked her up. I said, "No, no, no! You got to. I don't care if you cry. Get back on the bike and go. Get back on the bike. Hurry up. We gotta go. We gotta
Yeah.
go. We gotta go." She said, "We gotta go." Well, I made it like it was a desperation that we had to hurry up and leave. So now she's crying,
Yeah.
but she's no longer crying about how she fell and hurt her knee. She's crying about the fact that we gotta hurry up and go. And by the time she got back to the house, she was no longer crying. She was so happy to ride her bike, and she was able to talk about the fall, but she didn't. She wasn't. She didn't. She wasn't. She didn't have to wallow in her spiel,
Gotcha.
and that's the difference when boxing. When you wallow in your spiel, it resonates and sets for a long period of time, and now we're starting to grow into something that it never should have been.
So you're saying you got to shake that shit off immediately. Excuse my
You
language.
got to figure out that. That's why you talk to people. That's why you read people so you can figure out how to take them. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you just have to go around the block just to get next door.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's worth it. It's worth the extra trip. Yeah, I got a couple extra miles on the car, but it was worth it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if I just would have walked next door, it was a big old pit hole. I may have would have fell in. I don't know. But sometimes it's worth the going around the block just to get next door.
That's true. Once we sit and wait, you hesitate, you're lost.
Yeah. So that's when I say you got to give a fighter what they need
Yeah.
instead of what they want. You have to know the need of the fighter so you could give them what they need. And by the time they get what they need, they realize, like, God damn, that's what I needed this whole time. They realize it after they have it, but before then they think of something else.
What are some things when someone comes into camp? What are things to you? Maybe not even coming into camp. Let's say you even accepting a fighter to train. What are the non-negotiables? What are the things that you say this is absolutely the way it has to be? If you can't accept that, we won't work together. Are there any hard lines in regards to that?
Um, hmm. As far as I'm concerned, I would have to assume that if you are showing up to camp, that you come into work. And if you come into work, then the half the battle's already done. But if we got days we supposed to be in the gym and 2 days later I don't see you, you know what I'm saying? You missing days, you playing around, you want to go party. Yeah, that's not for me. I'm not. I would never tell a guy, I say, man, listen, you're not a bad fighter. You're a good fighter. You probably gonna make it to be whatever you want to be. But this is not for me. I don't sit around to collect the check. I'm a hands-on type of guy, and that's how I was taught. And if I wasn't taught like that, I probably would stick around just to get a check and say forget it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't taught like that. I can't do it. I can't say that I'm trying to honor a legacy this man laid down, and I'm just sitting around collecting a check, knowing that you ain't trained in 6 to 8 days, and we got to fight in a week.
So if a guy's not putting in the work, if he's not willing to come in and work and take it as seriously as you do,
I'm the wrong guy for you.
then that's it. You're going to say, hey, this can't
Look
work.
how much you got. I'm the wrong guy for you.
Do you feel now? Here's the crazy thing, because in boxing, it's a hard sport. I mean, it is a hard sport to train for and to cut weight and to get punched over and over. So just like you said, just to show up, it's a massive commitment. Even at the amateur level, or if you're a 4 round fighter, but like we're talking about at the highest level, what does hard work look like there? Because I got to imagine not everyone trains the same. Is there a certain expectation of like, hey, hard work is here, and if a guy comes in here, do you notice that difference? Is that a thing?
I know, notice everything because I mean you gotta. I'm 16 years old inside Lennox Lewis training camp, watching him get ready for a fight. Emmanuel let us come up there to train for our amateur tournament, and we watching Lennox Lewis train. You know what I'm saying? So I've definitely seen what the hard work look like. And then a lot of times he travel us to Big Bear, he'll train the Oscar and all this other stuff. And then when he started training Vladimir Klitschko, so I was privileged enough to be able to see a lot of guys just put it all on the line every day and just work. You know what I'm saying? So when someone's working, yeah, do I know what it look like? Most definitely.
And when it comes to like, this is where I get really curious too. Like when you're game planning for a fight, I wonder how fluid is that, or how strict is the game plan for a fight. So like, I'm gonna use Badou because that was the last fight that I saw. Do you go into that with a specific round by round game plan, or is it more of like a loose, not loose, but maybe like a more flexible plan of like, if this happens, then we do that, but this is
I
what we're
mean,
going to try to implement? Like, what does that look like when you game plan for a
he
fight?
may he may not know the round by round game plan, but I do. He know the game plan, but he don't know round by round. Like for the Macabre fight, the game plan we had was I need you to get like I had smaller guys in there, I had big guys in there. I needed him to get his speed up because I wanted him to outbox him, and I want him to knock him out later on in the fight. That was the goal. Outbox him early, outwork him, get him in trouble so he could be. I need him to be desperate for a knockout by the 8th round. That's what I need. So from 8 to 12, that's the money round. That's what I need. That's when I need the knockout. We going for the knockout between 8 and 12, and that's exactly what happened.
So in a situation like that, you know exactly what the game plan is. You know exactly what the blueprint is. For him, he has
Right.
a general understanding. Why not? This is where I'm curious. Why not tell him exactly what the plan is as you have it, so he knows, hey, let's outbox him up to that 8th round, to
Oh,
get ahead.
he knew the game plan was the outboxing.
Yeah,
He knew that. But okay, put it like
yeah,
this: I'm the general on the field. Okay, we got the front line of soldiers. We marching. The war's already started. Now, whenever the one holding the flag fall, someone else said, "Yeah, I'll pick it up and I'm gonna keep going." So the guys on the front line no matter what you have seen in your career, for that moment they have the better view than you do
yeah.
because they are on the front line. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times, the guys is up front may have a slight change in plans. They may do something a little different, and if they do something different, you have to adjust right away.
Got
You have to make your adjustment right away, because if they do something different and it's bad, you got to make an adjustment. If they do something different and it's good, you got to make an adjustment. Fortunately, as of right now, as of that moment, he never made an adjustment. He did exactly what we planned on him doing, meaning Badou. He did exactly what we talked about. So I mean, um, so I didn't have to make too many adjustments. Macabo did something different, and I said, okay, switch this up. This is what we gonna do now. Do this and do that, and we take it from there. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times, um, you if you go if you go A through Z, a lot of times all the fighter gonna think about is A through Z.
Yeah,
You know, so we do it like for me personally. I learned a long time ago. I don't take it. I don't take each fight for 12 rounds. I take each fight one round at a time because no one's guaranteed to go to the second round.
absolutely. Well, and you made a
When we get
great.
to the second
Well, I'm
When we get to the second round, okay, let's do this. Get to the third round, let's do this. We get to the fourth round, let's do this. I got 1 minute to talk to my guys. The most I take is 20 seconds. Straight, direct, here. That's the information.
How much do you think, like, how much can you tell a guy in those 20 seconds? Like, how do you get that message across to plan for a whole 3 minute round with all these
All you do is
adjustments?
see. That's the reason I tell every guy, all my guys, to listen, man. The same conversation you hear me saying now is the exact same thing you gonna hear me say on fight night. He said, man, we got like 90, 60 90 days to fight night. I said, I know. He said, so your language ain't gonna change. Nope. Never have, never will.
So you're, and like when you're training for the fight, obviously you have to, like, this is where it gets crazy. You have to plan for every single case scenario to happen, including
When
your
you
own fighter changing
when you
behavior.
training for when you training for the fight, you training for the fight. It's all in the training. When you training for the fight, you're training for the fight. You are training. I'm training my guys' mentality. So when you hear certain words, you know where you at. You know what I'm talking about. That's why my words don't change.
Got it. So the
Your opponent may not know what I'm talking about, but you know damn well what I'm talking about. Because I've been saying the same thing for the last 90 days.
so you have key words that they're going to hear and know. It means more than
All
just
day,
one word. It means a lot more.
all day.
So this is like you got to plan for every case scenario. Obviously, one of the craziest case scenarios that can happen is a fighter could get dropped, right? So your guy can you can go out there and have a whole game plan, and in the first round he might get caught and dropped. How do you?
That's not even a crazy scenario. The crazy scenario is a brawl break out in the middle of the fight.
Why do you
And
think
you got
that's the crazier one?
and, and you got to jump in. You got to jump in the ring
Oh,
because everybody else ambushed the ring. That's not crazy.
yeah,
That's something you definitely can't plan for.
yeah. Well,
You cannot, no way possible plan for that. And you got to jump in the ring and pin your fighter in the corner so he don't get into a fight and mess everybody money up.
well, wait. So let's take a step back. What was aside from that, but like in an actual fight scenario, what's one thing that happened where maybe earlier in your career you go, I didn't think about that. I didn't see that one coming, and it caught you off guard. Like, can you recall a time that happened?
I was never caught off guard.
Never. There was never one situation where you go, I've never seen that before.
I could say I never seen it before, but I was never caught off guard because for me, I was I always expect the unexpected when it comes to boxing. I'm never I'm never calm. I'm sorry. I'm always calm. I'm just never settled. I'm never just settled to say, look at the sky. No rain today, fellas. I'm not that guy. The ground may be dry, but I'm always my umbrella's on my side. I'm always prepared for the rain. And I'm saying this like when Dylan White fought Anthony Joshua, I wasn't expecting a brawl to happen in the middle of the ring. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting everybody to start rushing the ring, but I had to do something. I jumped in, pinned my guy in the corner, so so at least the fighter wouldn't be involved in nothing, and they can continue to fight. You just never know what's gonna happen, but you literally have to be prepared for everything. That's the purpose of continuing to train for training camp because the fighter is not the only one that got to train. You know, the coach is training just as much as what should be, just as much as the fighter.
And how do you? I mean, I know. I want to say I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure Manny used to run with his fighters, right? So like on occasion he would go out and run with them to sort of do that work and show them like I'm doing this
Talking
work
about,
with you.
talking about decades ago.
What's that?
Talking about decades ago.
So so
That's something like Tommy was amateur or something.
yeah. But like how do you show the fighter like I'm in this with you 100%. I'm doing this work with you. Is there a way to show it or is it just showing up every day?
Oh, I only I've told three fighters that because I seen uncertainty in their face. You know, I seen they've been around other people that they keep calling boxing a lonely man sport. You know what I'm saying? And they would bring stuff like that up to me, and I tell them, I say I disagree. I don't think boxing is a lonely man sport. Boxing is only a lonely man sport because you feel that you're nobody in your corner is with you. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I told you, I'm gonna give you another scenario. Then to come back to this,
Yeah.
okay? Guy shows up. A guy said, this boy from school says something to me in front of my house. Normally, I wouldn't say anything, but if I'm at my house and you got something to say to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's nowhere in the world that you gonna beat me in my own house. Anybody beat me in my backyard? That's not gonna happen. So all I got to do is be outside. I was outside a little longer than usual, and next thing I know, I got at least 10 to 15 people behind me standing on the porch. Why? Yes, I was out there by myself, but I wasn't by myself. I knew for a fact I had a whole crowd in that house that had my back. That's how when you get fighters to feel like they're not by themselves. They feel like you know what, I got at least four people. I got four people in the corner and at least 15 people on the front row. I ain't by myself. I got everybody I need with me. That's how a fighter's supposed to feel going into a fight. I mean, don't get me wrong. Fighters supposed to say, "Nah, man, I'm here by myself. I can handle it." They supposed to say that. If you don't feel you can handle something by yourself, then boxing is just not the guy, not the sport for you. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you still never supposed to feel like you by yourself.
Absolutely.
That's the wrong feeling you got. If you like a lot of guys may like feeling like they're by themselves so they could do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Like, man, why you keep like Andrew Gulata? Why you keep hitting the guy low? Andrew Gulata said, "Man, I'm in here by myself. Ain't nobody helping me." He felt he was by himself. He felt nobody's helping him, and this guy was beating him to the punch, and he had to do what he had to do. You get cracks in the system like that when you got guys feeling like it's just by themselves.
How do you make a guy feel that he has a whole support unit behind him? How do you create that?
I mean, you can't force it. It gotta be something where when they come, it's almost to the point where most most fighters, not all, but majority of them, they don't go off what they see too much. They go off what they believe. They could see that this is wrong or this is right, but that they could see the speed limit is what it is. But if they believe they get away with it, they go a lot faster. They don't go off what they see. They go off what they believe in.
Yeah.
And if you got these fighters and they 100% believe in you and you believe in them, I mean, you got a beautiful connection there.
That does that come back to the thing that you were saying at the beginning of, you have Manny and when he said something, he believed it 150%. So if he said like, "Hey, you're the real deal," he meant it.
I mean, we got to understand that although feelings not involved, when you are in the gym sweating with somebody, y'all hitting on each other, whether it's the pass and y'all going back and forth, what leaves the heart reaches the heart. And if you genuine in what you're doing, that fighter go feel it. Because he's an open book. Most fighters are open books. If you ask me do they like you, they gonna say, hell no, I don't like you. Get out of my face. Most fighters are not all, but most of them are open books. Most of them tell you in heartbeat, hey man, don't touch me. Don't touch me. You gotta say,
Yeah,
whoa. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you know what I'm saying? Most fighters are open books. They don't, that's the thing, and that's the reason a lot of people don't like them. A lot of promoters, they like to see the guys in the ring fighting, but they don't like them no other way
yeah,
because they open books. If you don't like something, you say something to me at a press conference, I'm going to say something back to you. And promoters don't like that. They want fighters to shut up and sit there like statues. But it is, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? You got to be, most fighters say, listen, man, I am who I am. You either hate it or love me.
so with I was thinking about this, like with that, if you have a fighter who, let's say he's I think of a few guys that come to mind. You get guys who are really, I don't want to say emotional, but they really get fiery in the ring, right? They may lose control. So you have a game plan. Maybe it's, stick with the jab, stay on the outside. But he gets tagged and then he starts exploding and giving it back because it's just in his nature, like an Arturo Gatti, someone like that.
Right.
How do you respond to that when the guy's emotions are clearly taken over, or his pride rather? So his pride takes over the fight. What do you do to redirect that, or do you redirect it?
A lot of times, once you lose the guy, he's lost. The only thing you can do is cheer him on. But for me personally, um, I go like I say, when I go over every scenario, I want to see my guys. Like I get sparring partners who are better than the person they go fight, so I can see them challenged in the right way. So I know I don't want you throwing. I don't want you. I got a bunch of guys you can throw easy punches with. So I'm never gonna know how you go throw your hard punches. What if you off balance with all your hard punches? I would never know it because you box easy all camp.
Yeah.
So that gives me that's not allowing me to do my job. I can't see to it that you where you need to be. You know what I'm saying? So um when you got a guy that's emotional like that, you could find ways in the gym to test these emotions to see how long it takes him to come back to reality. Or sometimes he get emotional and he may be so dominant you just let him go.
Got it. So it's not about figuring it out on fight night. You want to push those buttons well before fight night to see what can we do
I mean,
when that happens.
for me, as a I look at it up as a if I look at it if you look take a singer for example, if she knows she got a sold out show and she do her bit, she sing her song, whatever he or she sing their song, and the crowd was going insane for encore for one more song, and she only got paid to do a certain amount. And the promoter come tell you, look, we'll give you anything. You getting such a crazy response. We'll give you whatever you asked for 2 more songs. And she sung all her songs in a book that she brought. So if she's really talented, what she's gonna do, she's gonna go out there and give them 2 more songs. And with these fighters, you have to find a way to pull out of them what you see, because what you see they may not see. And I'm told Eubank Jr. I said, listen, I don't know if you getting what I'm doing, but I know I'm exhausting you, but I'm pulling everything out of you that I see. I don't know I'm not asking you what you see, but I'm pulling everything out of you that I see, and I want the world to stand up and see what I see on Fight Night. And that's what I was able to do. And I told even in the last round, I said, listen, man, championship rounds. So you got to pull this shit out. This is the moment you've been waiting for. This is what we work hard for. This is why I kept pushing you in the gym for. This is it right here. You know what I'm saying? This is what I wanted everybody to see. Now get up here and close this show. And I believe he did it. He did it. And me personally, I thought both fighters, honestly, both fighters did an amazing job.
So you want to,
You know,
you're showing him that there's more in him that he even understands was there to
I
begin with.
mean, like you have to. You know what I'm saying? If you don't, like, the thing about it, a fighter will tell you that they could do anything. Yeah, they could tell you that. But once they show you that, now the world knows it. It's one thing you knowing it. Everybody believe in themselves. Yeah, I can do that, no problem. But once you prove it, it gives you a different level, or it gives you a different type of walk. You talk different, you walk different, you look different. Everything's become different once you proved it. That's what it's all about. It's all about proving it. Like, so everything is different once you prove it.
And the whole goal then is to pull that out of them before the fight, so they understand going in there that they're capable of more than they ever believed.
Listen, man, when you able to challenge a fighter and they raise their game in the gym, they just took off their sunroof and became an unlimited ceiling. Now sky's the limit. Sunroof is gone now. Now we have no ceiling. Now I know for a fact however this fight goes, he's gonna be willing to go further because he have no ceiling, and that's what I wanted to make sure of. I did the same thing. I didn't know how McKillian was gonna do with Badou because I knew Badou been out for almost 3 years.
Yeah.
I know this gonna be the fight of his life. I know that only because it's not because this guy's so talented. It's the guy. Yes, the guy younger. The guy's he's gonna put pressure on the guys. Maybe a little bit taller, a little bit bigger. But Badou been off for so long, so it gotta work against him. It have to. So what I have to do in the gym, I have to push him to the point where he stayed mad at me until at least a day before the fight. He stayed pissed off at me. I'm, I am not playing. He's pissed at me. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? But I don't mind. My first trainer I ever had told me this. He said, Jonathan, I'd rather you hate me and you go win than you love me and be a loser.
Do you,
Never got that.
when he comes in there and he has these like sort of underdog things going for him, a long layoff, a younger fighter. Do you tell him that straight to his face when the camp starts? Like, hey,
Yeah,
you're an old
yeah.
man now. You haven't been out there. Do you use those to push those buttons?
No, I don't say it like that. You know, I let him know that you're older now. What you gonna do? What we doing here? We here to play patty cake. What we doing here? We here to you want to just hang out with me? Like what we doing here? Like I'm hearing rumors about the fight. What you mean you hearing rumors? I'm telling you the fight is on. I said, so what we gonna do here? He said, what you mean? We going to win. I said, that's all I need to hear. Let's go to work.
Got it. So it's not as direct and on the nose. It's sort of pulling it
Uh,
out.
because I tell any one of my guys, if you feel your feelings matter, your age matter, your soreness matter, do not come to me and get in the ring. Because if you hurt and you in that ring, I'm gonna talk to you and expect the best from you. I don't care if you hurt. You should have never gotten in the ring. What? I now I what I can say for the rest of the day, I can say, well, he was hurt. You know, he was injured, so that's why he didn't look so good. No. Doesn't work. Excuses does not work. Excuses only satisfy the person that uses it. That's it. I don't want no excuses. You know, but the reality of it is, I tell them, I say, picture me as box rec. And so what do you mean box rec? All I care about is the one or who won and who lost. Box rec don't give excuses. Box rec don't say, well, he hurt his knee in the fourth round and he was kind of limping. and it was accidental, so we had to go to the scorecard. That box rec don't say that. Box recs only lets you know the results of the fight. And I tell my guys that's really all that matters. Years ago, when we gone from here, they look up records. All they gonna say, like we look up Ray Robinson record. All they gonna say is how many he won, how many he lost. When they look up Ali record, everybody's record, all they gonna say is who won, how many they won, how many they lost. Why is that? It's really all that matters.
How much
So you keep them focused on. If you keep them focused on that, usually you got something good going.
how much do you think it helps that you've done this before? You were a fighter at the highest level. How much does that help you versus a guy who has never boxed but trains a fighter? Like, what advantages do you see in that?
I hate that you asked me that question, man. I hate that you asked me that question.
Why?
I just hate it, man. But we go into it.
Yeah,
You already opened the door,
yeah.
so we going to it. I can tell the way you smiling that you knew you was gonna get to me, and you knew what you're
I think
doing.
it's
This
an
is my guy.
important thing. I have my opinion on it. I can give that if you like.
Sure, go ahead.
I think at the very least, a guy has to have been in the ring to understand that pressure. It goes back to that thing you said about a fighter not feeling alone. It feels really alone if you have somebody telling you what to do who's never been dropped or hit hard enough. I think not necessarily even being a world champion, but to just have been in
Right,
those
right.
high pressure situations, you have to know what that feels like. Even if you're a Freddie Roach, Bomac, their records aren't incredible, but they fought and they even lost. I think that says a lot. They know what it feels like. So yeah, I think it's critical. I think you almost have to have been in that ring to be able to tell someone else how to do it. They won't respect it.
Okay, so we go this route. Um, mm, I can definitely see where you're coming from with that, and I can agree with you on a lot of things with that. It's hard to say does it help me at all. I can easily say no, it doesn't. But because I'm not doing nothing. See, I believe the difference is where you got guys that leave the fighting and go to training. They do everything. They teach the guys to show guys everything they would do if they was in their shoes. I do the total opposite of that. I do what I was taught to do, no matter what I did in my shoes. I'm not in my shoes. I'm in the because who had me in this position. I do everything I believe that I number one that I saw him do that I believe he will want them to do. That's what I do. So a lot of strategies the fighters said, listen, man, you came up with a perfect strategy, a game plan work. And I tell him, I said, hey, it wasn't mine. That's from the late great Emmanuel Stewart. That's one of his strategies. I remember us talking one night about it, and he going over different things, showing me how to do this, showing me how to do that. So for me, I don't know if that helped because I didn't get to the point where I said I'm not gonna fight no more. I'm gonna start training. It just came to me. It landed in my lap. So I don't think I've never thought about myself when I'm teaching somebody. I always think about Emmanuel Stewart.
Got it.
So I don't know if it helped or not. You know what I'm saying? But someone did. I mean, in the rules meeting, it helped because I've been there so many times. You know what I'm saying? But if the fighters ask different questions, I've been there a lot of times. When condition coaches come around, I think that part may help because if I hear a condition coach tell a fighter, we go work so you don't get tired in the late rounds, and I come up and say, how in the, I'm about to start cussing. How in the heck can you guarantee a fighter that he won't get tired in the late rounds and you ain't never been in late rounds yourself? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
And you actually paying this man to do this, and they have never boxed a day in their life, but they telling you how they go build you up to be such a great, emperor of a champion. But
Well,
it is.
yeah. I mean, how tired do your arms get when you've been punched in the bicep enough times? How tired are your arms to hold them up? How tired is your body when you've been taking it, to the solar plex? Like, it's different than just conditioning. This isn't running a marathon. This is a completely different beast. Or when you get rocked,
It's completely different.
I totally agree.
Yeah, even your air, your deep breath is not the same after round 9. It's not the same. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to be able to. It's one of them things that mentally you just got to be stronger.
I have a I have a question. My friend Vitaly asked me to ask this one. I thought it was a great one. Um, Dropping his name, giving him a little shout out. So he had asked, with a Triple G, you get Triple G to work with, and I mean his identity as a fighter is like etched in stone at that point.
100%.
How do you do anything different with a guy like Triple G, or does he pretty much know how his camp goes? Like, how do you approach a situation like that? That sounds like a different challenge.
I mean, you just approach him by talking to him. Simple. It's more simple than whatever. Like see, it's to the point where, um, if you see somebody do what you do, different shows, interviews like you. Let's say you was a teenager and you've been seeing them doing interviews with people you admire, and you finally get to meet that person. Y'all doing the same thing in the same field. You get to meet that person. You're not gonna come over. You're not gonna walk up to him and push him and say, "Hey man, follow me." You're gonna come up very respectful, and it's almost to a point where if you look up to this person, it's an honor for you to even get a chance to meet her. Sometimes in life, you probably never thought you would get a chance to meet this person. So it's a certain respect you have for them. So with the people that I've trained, that he had a respect for. He saw me. He had a respect for me because of not only because of the Klitschko's, but because of Emmanuel Stewart as well. So he was already respectful towards me, which don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for that. So it was everything else was like riding a bike. Everything else was easy.
So you don't. I mean, do you try to change anything, or is it more so working on what he has to just keep it
No, I
going?
don't. I don't. The goal is not to change. The goal is to enhance or make better. So with Triple G, only thing I did with G is I just started moving. I started with the movement because I'm like I think that's something you need to do more of. I said you one of the biggest punchers in the history of the sport. I said why two step and punch punch for what? I said you could cut guys off and knock them out right then and there. As soon as you cut them off, you could punch them. Say you got good legs. I remember you in the amateurs. You got good legs, but let's use the legs. Why try to turn yourself into a one trick pony? I said one trick ponies. They if you dodge they one trick, they don't look good. They look like ordinary. They look like an ordinary pony.
So
So that's all it was.
So, like, I recall him saying too, when he started working with you, he said, I really, enjoy working with Coach Banks. The reason why is he's old school. Triple G, he always has these sayings and they're very, like, simple, but he goes, yeah, Coach Banks
Yeah,
is old school. What does he mean when he says that? Like, what is it that you're doing that is old school or rooted in that old school that's different than.
everything I do is old school. I guess I was taught by old schoolers, man. You got Emmanuel Stewart. That's number one. You got the great Bill Miller. If you know anything about Kronk, you have to know about the great Bill Miller. You got the great Walter Smith. You know anything about crime? You gotta go. You gotta know the great Walter Smith. Walter Great Walt was in Chick-Ray Robinson training camp over at Brewster Center. He was with Joe Louis over at Brewster Center. You know, a lot of people don't realize that Ray Robinson started. He was from Detroit. Joe Louis, Detroit. You know, so these guys with them, you got the great Bill Miller, seeing James Toney working at a $2 car wash. You know, brought him in from Ann Arbor down to Detroit to start boxing and stuff. And these they are legends in the sport. These are the guys that I sat around talking to as a young teenager. You know what I'm saying? So when I say like I just do nothing but do everything I can to pay homage to the sport because of what these guys taught me. You got Mr. Logan, you got Mr. Lee. Like it's so many guys that it's pay homage to. Because all these guys, I'm 14. These guys in their late 80s. You know, Emmanuel Stewart was one of the youngest of all of them.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying. So look at the history that they already had. You know what I'm saying. It was amazing. So yeah.
So the lineage of everything that Emmanuel learned wasn't necessarily just started in a bubble. It wasn't just him. There were a lot of guys that he was learning from as well.
Emmanuel, if you was to pick a person similar to Emmanuel Stewart and that factory that they called it that he ran, he would be like Henry Ford Sr. You got the employees, you got the right managers to build to continue to build the brand. Now when you come around, you the only one with the special sauce. You bring the media and you have the special sauce. So you sprinkle your special sauce when you come around. But the factory is able to still produce over and over again. Why? Because it has a great leader. Period.
If you could, say in one word why the Kronk was so magical, well, what would that one word be? Maybe it could be a couple words, but what was the one thing that, obviously it's Manny, but what was the one thing that he did that made it so magical?
There's nothing that he did that made it magical. It's him. He was the magic.
That was
He was magic.
that's perfect. Jonathan, that's all I got, man. This was a phenomenal conversation, man. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
my pleasure, man. Definitely my pleasure. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach Banks.